But why should, look, I'm a parent. I have 3 kids, right? And we made our own vaccination choices. But because there was discretion given to us in that regard, but there were consequences with the discretion. Why should the parent, even though I am one, right? So I like what you're saying, Doc, but why? Why should I win? Why shouldn't science win? Why shouldn't people like you win, who we empower to make recommendations based off science? And they say, no, I get that you don't like vaccines, but you're not as smart as Ladapo. And he says that these vaccines work, and we want within our kid community to not see measles or mumps or rubella or polio. And we don't want other kids to be more subject to contagion because you're not vaccinated. So you don't get to decide for everybody else, just for your own kid.
I mean, there was a lot there that you shared, Mr. Cuomo. I would say people bring up the scientific part, and that's a good discussion to have. Effectiveness, safety, adverse events, etc. And by the way, there are issues there too, because one of the tenets of medical treatment is informed consent. And by the way, you can't obtain informed consent if you are coercing people. And when you have a mandate and there are negative consequences to not complying, well, you can't obtain informed consent, which means you can't provide ethical care. But putting that aside, this isn't actually a scientific debate. This is about whether the parents' interests should prevail over the sovereignty and the autonomy of their bodies and their children's bodies, or whether the government should prevail. It's that simple. I mean,
I think that's demonizing government,
could
Doc.
be perfect.
I think that's demonizing government. I think it's demonizing government. I think it's a piece of sophistry. I really do, Doc, and I'll tell you why. I'm all in favor. Again, I want to say what's right for my kid. But it's a piece of sophistry, Doc, because that's not what it's about. My right to control myself, my free will, ends at your nose, right? We all know this analogy, right? Your ability to use your fist ends where my nose begins, Doc. You don't get to infringe on my rights by exercising your own. And it seems like here you're making it okay by demonizing the state. The less the state has control over us, the better.
Yeah. That's actually another debate, but I'm not trying to open that area. It's interesting what you just said, Mr. Cuomo, because you just talked about one party imposing on the rights of the other party, and if you listen to what you're saying, you're basically saying that this is a situation where the government gets to impose on the individual's rights and preferences, and people can believe that. I personally believe that that's wrong, that the more freedom that we give people, particularly over their bodies, we're not talking about seatbelts here. We're not talking about, other things that we do in society. You got to pay for stuff when you get your gas. You don't get to get your gas and walk away. We're not talking about that. We're talking about your body. And if you don't have control over that in terms of what you put in your body, I mean, what's the whole point? Why are we here?
I got it.
So I hear what you're saying, Mr. Cuomo, but literally your words are supporting the actual thing that you're saying you're against.